quiet ache she hid from the world's soft winter sun filtered through the tall windows of the studio. The air inside was still, holding the warmth of the morning, but Anna felt cold. Not the kind of cold that made you shiver, but the kind that sat inside your chest. It was quiet and heavy. She hadn't smiled yet that day. She was sitting in her trailer, her script open on her lap, eyes fixed on a line she had read at least 10 times. Her lips trembled slightly, but no words came. Her throat tightened. Today was her father's birthday. It had been 8 years since he passed. But some days, it felt like yesterday. Anna never told anyone on set.
Yeah.
Not the makeup artists, not the director, not even her assistant. She didn't want pity. She just wanted to act, to lose herself and her character so she wouldn't have to feel too much. But this morning, her hands shook when she picked up her coffee. Her voice cracked during rehearsal. No one noticed, or at least they didn't say anything. Maybe they thought she was just tired. Keanu Reeves was already on set, sitting quietly near the lighting rig, watching a scene being adjusted. He always arrived early, always quiet, always respectful. He noticed things most people didn't. The way Anna avoided the mirrors today. The way her voice had lost its warmth. The way she didn't laugh when someone made a joke. He didn't say anything yet, not directly. They had worked together for a few weeks now. He had seen her be strong, professional, even playful. But today, she looked like a bird trying not to tremble in the wind. Keanu believed in silence. He believed silence spoke louder than words when used right. And today, he decided to watch. It's not to intrude. It's not to ask. Anna walked out of her trailer. As the director called her for the next scene, she gave a soft nod and stepped into position. The lights dimmed. Camera rolled. Action. Her character was supposed to cry in the scene. Just a few tears. Subtle emotion. Nothing heavy. But as she started, her eyes filled far too quickly. Her voice cracked in the wrong place. She stopped mid-sentence. Everyone waited. Anna didn't. Move. Cut, the director said gently. Anna, take a second. She nodded quickly and turned away, wiping her eyes. But she couldn't stop them now. They kept coming, even as she walked off set, past the makeup station, down the hallway, out the studio door. She didn't care who saw. She ended up behind the set, sitting near the side entrance, knees pulled. To her chest, she hugged them tightly, trying to steady her breathing. And that's when she heard the footsteps. Not rushed, not loud, just calm. Keanu sat beside her without a word. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't offer her tissues. He didn't try to make it better with jokes or small talk. Instead, he sat with his back against the wall, legs stretched out, looking straight ahead. A few seconds passed, and a minute. Finally, he spoke. He must have been a good man, Keanu said quietly. Anna turned to him slowly, her face pale with surprise. Your father, Keanu added, still not looking at her. You don't cry like that unless the love was real. Anna felt her chest break open just a little more. Her lips parted, but she didn't know what to say. No one had said anything like that in years. Not like this. Not without asking. Not without trying to fix her. She whispered. Keanu nodded once, gently, then silence returned. They sat like that for a while. No rush, no pressure. Just two people letting the quiet do what words couldn't. The sun shifted slowly across the sky finally. Anna leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes. Thank you, she said. Keanu didn't reply. He just sat with her a little longer, but something changed in him that moment. Thought entered his mind and stayed there. A plan. He didn't know what it would look like yet, but he knew one thing. He was going to do something no one else would expect, something that might bring a piece of her father back to her, not in a way that made her cry again, but in a way that might make her smile, just once more. The day Keanu disappeared from Seth, next morning came too fast. Anna arrived at the studio early, like always. Her face looked calmer, but her eyes still held the weight of the day before. She didn't cry again. She didn't talk about what happened behind the set wall, and no one asked. The team moved quickly, prepping for a big scene that day. Lights were tested. Sound was checked. The director gave quiet instructions. But one thing was missing. Keanu wasn't there, Anna noticed. At first, his trailer door was closed, lights off, no sign of him inside. At first, she thought maybe he was just running late, maybe stuck in traffic. But as time passed and the first hour ticked by with no word, people started whispering, "Where's Keanu? Has anyone called him?" This isn't like him, Anna stayed quiet. Her hands gripped her script tightly. Something about the silence around his absence made her chest feel tight again. Then her phone buzzed. It was a message not from Keanu, but from his assistant. "Just one line," he said, "not to worry, he'll be back tomorrow. Please continue as normal." Anna stared at the screen. What could be more important than today's scene? It was one of the final shoots. It wasn't like Keanu to disappear without notice, and yet she felt something, not worry, not confusion, but something strange. Like this had something to do with her. The scene went ahead with a stand-in. Everyone tried to stay focused, but there was a quiet shift in the mood. Keanu had a way of grounding the room with his presence. Without him, things felt scattered. Lighter somehow, but not in a good way. Anna got through her lines, but her eyes kept drifting toward the studio door, half expecting to see him walk in. But he never did. By lunchtime, the sun had reached its highest point. Anna sat alone at the far end of the studio's small outdoor garden, her food untouched. She opened her phone again, rereading the assistant's message. Then another thought crept in. What if he left because of her? What if sitting with her yesterday had reminded him of something too heavy, something he didn't want to carry? But then she shook her head. That wasn't Keanu. He didn't run away from pain. He walked through it like he had made peace with it long ago. She took a breath, then another, and she waited. Meanwhile, miles away, Keanu sat quietly in a small dusty bookstore just outside the city. He wasn't dressed like a star, just jeans, a simple hoodie, and a soft look in his eyes. He held an old book in his hands. It was in Spanish. The cover had faded, but the title still showed. Poemas para mi hija. Poems for my daughter. He ran, his fingers across the edge, feeling the wear in the pages. Then he opened it slowly, and inside was a name written in neat. Cursive. Miguel de Armas. Ina's father. He had spent the morning tracking down anything connected to him. His work, his art, his words, and this book. This was something special. The shopkeeper had told him it had been out of print for over 15 years. Only a few copies were ever sold. It was a private collection of letters and poems her father had written for Anna when she was a child, but the most beautiful part? He never published it to make money. He printed them as a gift to her. Only 10 copies in total, handwritten covers, bound by hand. And one of them ended up here. Keanu didn't hesitate. He bought the book, gently wrapped it in soft brown paper, and added a note. No big message. Just a line that said, "Your father wrote you into the world long before you became part of ours." He didn't sign it. He didn't need to. By evening, the package was left with a trusted assistant and placed inside Anna's trailer, right on her chair. No one saw it arrive. No one mentioned it. Anna found it when she returned from her last scene. She looked at the soft paper. She touched the string that tied it closed. Her fingers shook slightly as she untied it. When she saw the book, her breath caught in her throat. She recognized the handwriting, recognized the title, and when she opened the first page, she saw the note. The tears came fast, but they were different this time. Not heavy with pain, but full of warmth. Like a hug from a memory. Like hearing her father's voice again after years of silence. She sat down slowly, holding the book like it was made of glass. She read the first poem, then the second, and by the third, she was no longer crying. She was smiling, soft, trembling, but real. She looked around the trailer. No name on the note, but her heart knew. Only one person would do this. Only one man would disappear from set. Not for himself, but for someone else's peace. Anna closed the book gently, then whispered into the quiet, "Thank you, Keanu." Echoes of her father's voice the next morning. Anna walked onto the set with a calm in her step that hadn't been there in days. Her eyes were tired, but soft. Her hands didn't shake anymore, and when someone cracked a joke near the makeup chairs, she actually smiled. Not because everything was fine again, but because something inside her had shifted. The little book sat safely in her trailer now, wrapped in a silk scarf, like a treasure she didn't want to lose again. She had stayed up most of the night reading her father's words, his poems, his dreams, his quiet hopes for her life. In one of the final pages, he had written something she couldn't stop thinking about. "If one day I am gone, and you feel alone, look for someone who makes you feel seen. Not big crowds, not loud fame, just someone who notices when your hands are cold." She hadn't told anyone about the book, not even her assistant, and Keanu didn't mention it either, but when she stepped onto the set and saw him standing near the soundstage, sipping coffee with that same calm look in his eyes, she met his gaze and smiled. It was small, but he understood it. He gave a small nod in return, and in that moment, no words were needed. The day moved forward with a quiet rhythm. The director called them both in for a key emotional scene. It was the one where their characters had to talk about loss, about the people they once loved, and how they survived the silence they left behind. Anna was nervous. This scene felt too close to her real life now, but as the cameras rolled and the lights dimmed, something strange happened. She stopped acting and started speaking from somewhere deeper. Her voice cracked in the right places. Her eyes glistened with real memory. Her hand, when it reached across to touch Keanu's in the scene, held his for just a second longer than the script said, and when the director whispered "cut," the room stayed silent for a long breath, then quiet applause broke out. Not loud, just respectful. People felt something real in that take. Anna stepped away, heart still racing, and found a quiet place backstage. She didn't want praise. She just needed a moment alone. But Keanu found her again, not on purpose. He was just walking past, but when their eyes met, he paused. Anna stood with her arms crossed, looking down at the floor. "How did it feel?" he asked gently. She looked up slowly, like my father was watching. She said softly. Keanu didn't reply right away, just stood beside her, letting the words settle. Then she added, "You found it, didn't you? The book?" He gave her the smallest smile. "I had help," he said. "Old bookstores are good listeners." Anna nodded, her eyes beginning to water again. "It means more than you know." Keanu looked at her, his voice warm. "I think I do know." She didn't ask how he found it. She didn't ask why, because sometimes kindness didn't need explanation. But what she didn't know, what no one knew yet, was that Keanu had one. More planned. Finding the book was only part one. He had come across something else in his search. A voice recording hidden inside a rare audio archive from an old radio show in Havana. A special guest segment. Anna's father reading a poem. One single poem. Recorded years ago, and Keanu had found a way to get the rights to it. He had spoken to a local historian, paid the proper channels, and had it sent to him as a clean digital file. His idea wasn't just to give her the past. It was to let her hear it with her own ears, like he had never left. But he wasn't going to tell her just yet. He needed to make sure it would be perfect. Not another gift in silence, but something shared, something beautiful. So that night, while Anna rested, Keanu was working quietly with a sound editor friend in a small studio in downtown Los Angeles, stitching the poem into a soft music track, mixing it gently, making sure every breath, every word from her father felt like it was being spoken straight into the heart when he played it back the first time. Keanu closed his eyes. Miguel's voice came through, deep and warm. "For my daughter, who carries my light." The room went still, and Keanu knew when she heard it. She wouldn't just cry. She would feel him again. Not as a memory, but as a presence. Alive in that room for just a moment, and he couldn't wait to give that to her. The voice in the dark Hannah stood by the glass window of her trailer, watching raindrops slide down like slow tears. The studio was quiet. Most of the crew had packed up for the night. They had wrapped early. The energy on set had been different. Today's Entler somehow, her heart still carried the poems. She kept the book close, placing it beside her each morning like a soft anchor. When her hands grew tired from acting, she would read a line or two and feel steady again. But tonight, as the rain tapped softly against the window, she felt something else, a longing, a strange wish to hear him. Not just read him, to hear her father's voice again, to hear the way he used to say her name, with softness and pride. But she knew that was impossible. He had passed before recording devices were easy to carry around. All she had were old pictures, fading letters, and now this book. So she turned off the trailer light, wrapped herself in a shawl, and leaned back into the couch. Outside, the rain grew heavier. Thunder rumbled far in the distance. A knock came, gentle. Patient, she sat up. Another knock. She walked over and opened the door slowly. Keanu stood there, holding a small black case in his hands. His jacket was soaked, hair damp from the rain, but he smiled softly. Sorry, he said. I should have called. Anna blinked. It's okay. Come in. He stepped inside and placed the case gently on her table. What is that? She asked. Eyes narrowing with curiosity. Something I found, he said. He opened the case, revealing a sleek portable speaker with a tiny label stuck to it. For Anna, her heartbeat changed pace. Don't understand? Keanu didn't answer directly. Instead, he turned the speaker on, adjusted the volume, pressed play. Soft static filled the room. Then a voice, deep, familiar, warm. This is Miguel de Armas, and this poem is for my daughter, Anna's. Hands flew to her mouth. Her knees almost gave out. It was him, his real voice. Clear. It's full of breath and life. You are the reason I believe in tomorrows. Even when I am gone, listen for me in the wind. I am never far. I am just behind your smile. She sank to the couch, her body trembling. Tears spilled from her eyes, not from pain this time, but from wonder. From something holy. Keanu sat beside her, but not too close. Just enough to be near if she needed him. The poem continued. Every word was a piece of home. Anna closed her eyes and let her father's voice fill the trailer. For those 2 minutes, it felt like time stopped. The rain outside softened. The wind seemed to hush. The world bent around that voice. When the recording ended, silence wrapped around them. Anna wiped her face with her sleeves, still staring at the speaker. How? How did you find that? Keanu looked at her gently. Luck. And a librarian in Cuba who knew where to look. Anna laughed through her tears. This is something I thought was lost forever. Keanu leaned back slightly. Some things just wait to be found. She looked at him, eyes shining. I don't know how to thank you. You already did, he said. Yesterday, when you smiled again. Anna reached over, slowly, took his hand in hers. She didn't say anything more. She didn't have to. The silence between them was full of meaning. A bond built not through fame or friendship alone, but through quiet acts of care. Through listening. Through effort that asked for nothing in return. She played the recording again. And again. Each time felt like a piece of her was being stitched back together. He said my name, she whispered. He meant it. Keanu replied softly. They stayed. Like that until the rain stopped. And when Keanu left later that night, Anna stood by the door, watching him disappear into the darkness. Her father may have been gone, but somehow, through Keanu's kindness, he had found a way to speak again too. Remind her she was never truly alone. The letter in the wardrobe. Anna woke early the next morning. She hadn't slept much, but she didn't feel tired. Her eyes were a little swollen from crying, yet her heart felt light. Almost like she had let go of something that had been holding her down for years. She walked to the window and opened it. A soft breeze moved through the curtains. Carrying the scent of morning rain and warm soil, the little speaker still sat on her table, silent now but full of her father's voice. She had played it 5 times last night. Each time, something inside her felt more whole. She wasn't ready to tell anyone else about it yet. It felt too sacred. But there was one thing she knew for sure. She wanted to give something back to Keanu, not just a thank you. Not just a kind word. Something deeper. She didn't know what yet. So she sat down at her table, opened a notebook, and wrote one simple line. Find what matters to him. But before she could think further, her phone buzzed. It was a call from G. Wardrobe. They needed her early for a costume fitting. Anna arrived at the wardrobe department a little after 8. The room was filled with dresses, jackets, and racks of costumes for the film. She smiled at the crew, letting them measure and adjust without protest. But as they brought out an older costume for a flashback scene, something strange happened. A folded envelope fell from one of the coat pockets. "What's that?" one of the assistants asked. "Probably an old script note," someone replied. But Anna picked it up before anyone else could. It was addressed to her, in soft handwriting, no stamp, no date, just her name. "This wasn't here before," the designer said, confused. "I swear we checked this jacket yesterday." Anna opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper typed, clean, thoughtful, and it read, "Sometimes you forget the impact you've had on others. You carry so much in silence, and still you shine. You make others feel safe just by being yourself. This is not something that can be taught. It is something born from love your father gave. You that love, and it lives in you still." No signature, no hint who left it, but she knew Keanu. It was his voice. Even in writing, she folded the letter, held it to her chest, and stood silently for a moment. And in that moment, something inside her shifted again. A thought came. Soft, surprising. She wanted to take him somewhere, someplace private, not a restaurant, not a party, but a place from her childhood. A quiet garden where her father used to take her. A hidden spot just outside the city. It had wildflowers, and even stone benches, and a crooked little tree with white blossoms, her father used to say. This is where the world stopped spinning for a little while. Anna hadn't been there in years, but now it felt like the right time to go back. And maybe Keanu was the right person to go with that evening. As the day's shooting ended, Anna found him near the studio gates. Sipping tea alone, she walked up and sat beside him. He looked at her. With a calm smile, "You okay?" he asked. "I'm now." She said softly. He didn't ask anything more. She reached into her bag and handed him a small folded paper. He opened it. It was a drawing, a child's drawing, rough and simple. A tree, a bench, and 2 stick figures under. The white blossoms. "What's this?" he asked. "A place I want to take you," she said. "Just us." Now, Keanu looked at the paper again, then at her eyes. He nodded. "Double quotes tomorrow?" he asked. "Tomorrow." The next day they drove in silence. The sun was gentle, the clouds soft and lazy above them. When they arrived, Anna led him down a narrow path through trees and flowers until the garden opened before them. Just like she remembered, the crooked tree still stood. The bench still leaned, slightly to one side. The wind carried a quiet hum like an old lullaby. Keanu walked slowly through the garden, letting the moment settle around him. Anna stood beside the bench, looking out across the blossoms. "He used to read to me here," she said. "Poems, stories, sometimes just silence." Keanu listened. "I haven't been here in years," she added. "I didn't think I could come back alone." Keanu sat down on the bench, and now he asked. She smiled. "Now I'm not alone." They sat for a while, watching the light shift through the branches. Anna pulled the book of poems from her bag and began reading out loud, her voice soft and steady. Keanu closed his eyes, letting the words wash over him. And for the first time in a long while, Anna didn't feel like she had lost something. She felt like she had found something new. Bridge between memory and now, between her father's love and a friend who saw her the same way. The moment the wind stopped, they sat in the garden until the sun began to set. Anna's voice had grown softer with each poem she read. Like her father's words were melting into the breeze. Wrapping around the trees and settling into the soil, Keanu sat still beside her, eyes closed, his breath steady. He wasn't just listening to the words, he was letting them live inside him, honoring their weight and Anna. She felt peace, not the loud kind, not the sudden, powerful kind, but a quiet peace, like a soft light slowly filling a dark room. She finished reading the last poem. She closed the book gently and held it in her lap. Keanu opened his eyes and looked at her. "Thank you for bringing me here," he said. She nodded.
Thank you for giving him back to me.
They both smiled. It wasn't a smile of joy or celebration. It was a smile of understanding, of having walked through pain and come out the other side, changed but not broken. Anna stood up and walked to the little tree. She reached out and touched the bark with her fingertips, remembering the days her father had carried her on his shoulders. How he used to trace her name in the dirt with a stick and laugh as she danced barefoot on the stones. Keanu joined her. "What was he like?" he asked gently. Anna looked up at the sky, thinking he was quiet. "Like you." Not because he was shy, but because he believed words should be used carefully. He said silence was where truth grows. Keanu nodded slowly. "Sounds like you raised a daughter who listened." Anna smiled. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small folded note, the one Keanu had placed in the wardrobe jacket. She handed it to him. "You wrote this, didn't you?" she asked. Keanu looked at it, hesitated, then gave a small smile. "I hoped it would reach you without needing to sign it." "It did," she said, "and it reminded me. My father's. Love didn't disappear. It just found a new way to speak." They stood under the white blossoms, the petals fluttering gently around them. Anna took a deep breath. "I want to record something," she said suddenly. "Here, yes." Keanu nodded. "What kind of recording?" "A message," she said. "Not for anyone else. It's just for him." She took out her phone, opened the voice recorder, and held it in front of her lips. Keanu stepped back, giving her space but still close enough to hear. Anna began to speak. "Hi, Papa. I don't know if you can hear this. Maybe you can. Maybe. You already know. But I wanted to tell you something. I'm okay. I really am. I miss you. Every day. But someone kind helped me remember you. Not with stories or pictures, but with effort. With care." She paused, her voice cracking. "I heard your voice again. I felt your words. And for the first time in years, I don't feel lost." She smiled through her tears. "I hope you see. Me. I hope you're proud. And Papa. I met someone who reminds me of you. Not because he tries to, but because he simply is. Quiet, kind, steady. Like the sky on a still day." She turned off the recording and closed. Her eyes, the garden was completely silent. Then the wind stopped. Just for a moment, no movement, no rustling. Even the birds seemed to pause. Anna opened her eyes, and in that stillness, she felt it as if her father was standing right behind her, resting a hand on her shoulder. She didn't need proof. She just knew. Keanu stepped forward and handed her a flower from the tree. "For him?" he said. She knelt down and placed it near the bench where her father used to sit. No name, no stone, just a simple blossom, left with love. As they walked back through the path, Anna looked at Keanu. Double quotes. "I want to do something for you now," she said. "You already have," he replied. "No, really, something that matters." Keanu thought for a moment, then shrugged lightly. "Just keep smiling," Anna laughed. "Too easy." But inside, she made a quiet promise. Whatever storms he carried, whatever ghosts followed him, she would notice. She would sit beside him when he trembled. She would clap first when he froze. It's just like he did for her. They returned to the city as the sky turned orange and pink. People passed by, busy with their lives, unaware that two hearts had just been healed in a quiet garden on the edge of nowhere. Back at the studio, the next few days flowed differently. Anna acted with more depth. Her laugh returned, full, warm, unafraid. Keanu moved through scenes with a softer smile, as if carrying a secret. Joy. One day after their final shoot, the director called for one last group photo. Cast and crew gathered under the big production lights. Anna and Keanu stood side by side, and just before the camera clicked, she reached over and took his hand. He looked at her, surprised. "For the memory," she said softly, and in that moment, captured forever in the photo a woman who missed her father, a man who gave her back his voice. and a silent promise between them. To always notice each other when the world forgets.